All right, shalom, shalom, people. This is I'm back at it again with another video presentation about the El Harish inscription. This is gonna be the second installment. So I would first like to say all praise is due to Yahweh, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So I'm gonna go ahead and read a blog two or part two of the article dealing with the El Harish stone or the El Harish inscription or the monolith of El Harish, which further proves that the Israelites, that our ancestors, were in captivity in ancient Egypt or ancient Kemet, because as you guys already know, all throughout the years, you always had oppositions coming from the Kemetic or the Egyptology community, trying to perpetuate this falsehood that there's no way in hell that the Israelites were in captivity or in bondage in Egypt. I mean, even till this day, you got a lot of these guys out there still teaching. A lot of these niggas are still running around saying that there is no historical artifact, there's no primary resources or primary sources that can validate the validity of the scriptures, which is a total lie. Because at the end of the day, simply this: all the rest of these niggas, they don't want to keep the laws, they don't want to come back to the fold, they don't want order or structure. They just want chaos in their lives. They don't want to follow after the oracles of the creator. A lot of these cats out there, they just want to be homosexuals. They want to go both ways. They want the nigga woman to be totally out of order or way out of pocket. A lot of these cats are a bunch of freaks. And that's just the way it is. It's the reason why they want to go ahead and neglect all the facts that support the validity of the scriptures. Okay, so I want to first start off right now is read part two of the article, because you go ahead and go back and check out the previous video in which I read part one of blog entry number one. So now it says, according to El Harish Stone blog entry part two, and it says, almost forgotten in a tiny museum of Isamala, some 125 kilometers northeast of Cairo, is an artifact, a great piece of granite called the El Harish stone, okay, that corroborates the biblical Exodus and provides us with the inside story from an Egyptian point of view. So that particular stone or artifact provides further evidence of the Exodus or a biblical Exodus that took place. And you can find that piece of artifact at the Museum of Islam over there in Northeast Cairo. Okay, so it says, in the past, I've summarized the content of hieroglyphics on this granite, but I've now promised to go line by line through the entire scriptures. I analyzed the first five lines here, and I already read that in part one. You go ahead and check it out for yourself. In summary, the first five lines seems to refer to the war the Egyptians conducted around 1500 BCE under the command of Pharaoh Sennacherib II, referred on the El Harish stone by his divine name Ra Hamakis. The battle was fought against who? An Asiatic people, i.e., from the area of Canaan, Israel. These people are called the Amu by the Egyptians on the granite. I mean, the Egyptians called us the Amu people. And you can find that out on the piece of the stone, as he pretty much stated it. They are called the Hyksos by modern scholars. The scholars call them Hyksos. The Egyptians call us the Amu. Around 1700 BCE, the Hyksos took over the Delta, i.e., the Lower Egypt, from the native Egyptians. For some 200 years, the Egyptians and Hyksos lived next to each other in an uneasy truce. Then the Egyptian pharaoh decided to reconquer the Delta and drive out the Hyksos. Under Sennacherib II, the Egyptians from the south attacked north into the Delta. Things did not fare well. for them. The Hyksos are credited with bringing chariots technology to Egypt. The El Harish stone describes how Sennacherib Tower II was defeated in battle and killed. Archaeologically, Sennacherib Tower II's mummy has been found. He is on display at the Cairo Museum. He seems to have fallen off a chariot, sustaining bodily injuries. His head is clearly smashed by the Hyksos axes. His battle of Egyptian liberation for Hyksos rule set the stage for the biblical Exodus. And it says that the El Harish stone describes how Sennacherib was replaced by his son, the divine Shu. We know from the historical record that this was Pharaoh's Kamos. According to the El Harish inscription, the divine Shu, who we identify with Pharaoh Kamos, originally defeated the Egyptian army to a place called Adnez. He then recognized his army and once again attacked the Hyksos in Lower Egypt, the scene of the biblical Exodus. This is what lines 6 to 18 says. Line 6. His Majesty Shukamos proceeded to his palace residence in Piharit. This is where the royal burial places at Nam were situated, like heaven resting on its or pillar. It is here that Peace Soap was rebuilt. For His Majesty Shu, this was the temple of Shu was most dedicated. It was purposely placed on south, northwest, east axis. The temple was declared all of existence. There were 8 chapels on the right, 8 on the left, 8 the courtyard, the Gol Aki Jaid. This temple was dedicated to Shu in his divine name of Step, Lord of the East. The chapels face each other. The residences belong to the uh, verse 11, the line 11, great council of the gods in Agdi, to the small council of the gods who attend to Ra, and to the gods, 12, who attend to Shu and respect. All these sanctuaries were constructed and encircled Shu's temple. This temple faced east, facing the rising sun and the inhabitants. Temples were each gnome was represented. In case of any new gnome got into trouble, his plan would be put into effect. Neebs was one of the north. It faced south. The temple of the gods was where the territory of Neebs faced east. A pool was on the north side. A great thoroughfare ran front of the temple, reaching all the way of the Pityari. Pityari represented the face of Ra. With his staff, Shu Pharaoh Kamos touched upon the ground, and it became a sacred place in at Neebs. Its southern face represented the face of Pityari. Neither god nor goddesses, no man nor animal entered into the precinct and learned its mysteries. What its mysteries? What we have here is nothing less than the lead up to the Exodus. Okay? Context is a civil war between the north and the south of Egypt. The indigenous pharaohs of the south attacked the northern Asiatic Canaanite rulers and got soundly defeated. The pharaohs who initiated the conflict died in a battle. His son ascended to the throne. The new pharaohs immediately did 2 things. He withdrew his army and reassembled by rededicating himself and his troops to the Egyptian gods. Like Moses, his pharaohs, we identify with Moses, carried a staff, making with it a sacred place. With a newly constructed temple like Moses after the Exodus, according to the El Harish Granite, Kamos constructed a religious center for his cult. Notice the names these pharaohs took. Ra, Harmakes, and Shu are associated with the delta, the north, not the south. They are associated with Heliopolis, not Thebes, meaning these pharaohs are already declaring their intended rule of the north. Okay? Their god names, by definition, are declaring a war of who of the Hyksos rulers are the Delta of the biblical Goshen. The El Harishnaos are shrine meant for the Holy of Holies of the temple gives precise measurement of common structure, 20 cubits in height, 190 in length, 110 in width, compared with the biblical account. of Exodus chapter 27, verse 9. Of the north side enclosure of the Israelite tabernacle, which was 5 cubits in height, 100 cubits in length, and 50 cubits in width. What we see is a very similar structure, the Egyptian one being slightly bigger, accommodated residence for the council of God's, i.e., the priesthood and political elite. This section ends with a description of the Egyptian Holy of Holies, where no one but the divine Pharaoh could enter to learn the secrets of the mysteries. The next section, which we will deal with the next week, deal with the reenactment of the armies of the Israelites of the political military condition, which would lead to the Israelites. And as you can see, when we go ahead and analyze all of the information written on the stone or on the granite stone, you can clearly see that the Israelites, and who are the Israelites, by the way? The Israelites are these so-called Negroes scattered throughout North, Central, South America who carry the ydna marker e1b1a. If your ancestors came to this time of cargo slave ships, then you are an Israelite. So we analyze all the facts and all the evidence on that piece of stone, and you're going to find out that the Israelites were in fight. Our people were in fight where in the land of Egypt as slaves, which also further proof that number one, our ancestors, the Israelites, did exist. Number two, it also proved that the Exodus did happen and we were in captivity and bondage in the land of Egypt, and that the scriptures or the quote unquote Bible is 100% valid and 100% legit. Like I was saying before about all the rest of these other niggas from the so-called black conscious movement or the unconscious movement, you already know who these clowns are. All you gotta do is check out some niggas' platform. You can check out all the rest of these other cats out there. The bottom line is simply this. They're spreading nothing but falsehood and lies. And at the end of the day, the creator Yahweh is going to judge them when that time comes. And that's good. He's going to bring nothing but destruction and ultimately death upon them. And I'm not going to feel sorry for them. I'm only going to continue to go ahead and pray that he could go ahead and open the minds of only the sincere ones who are going to come in and come back to the fold and keep his laws. The rest of them, they can just drop dead. I could care less about them. But at the end of the day, it's simply this. There is documentation and information out there that can prove the validity of our scrolls or our book, which is the Holy Scriptures. I mean, they're out there. I have 7 books right now on myself, on my library, that goes into different artifacts, archaeology, anthropology, that prove that the Israelites did in fact exist and that the stories that you read about in the scriptures happen, okay? Because the Bible is not a plagiaristic collection of ancient Kemetic writings or ancient Egyptian writings. And that's a lie. These artifacts totally debunk that. But I'm going to end this video presentation right now. I'm going to go ahead and sign out. I'm going to say shalom, and I'll see you, sincere brothers, on the next video presentation.